All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday to everyone out there. September 29th. We got a decent sized MLB slate to jump into in today's video. Like we always do, we're gonna go through each and every game as we talk about them. I'll give you my lean or leans on the games, but all of my final plays, so when I'm actually rolling with myself, if you do want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment. And speaking of final plays, what happened last night? We go 1-1 and potentially 1 here. Let me explain. But first off, it is a profitable night because the games that have finished 1-1, we did hit for plus 105 with the Cardinals and Brewers under. So everything I'm about to complain about, just know that we still made profit. So it's not like I'm crying over spilled milk or anything like that. Like, no, we still made profit. This is one of those weird nights like, this could be a sweep. It really could, guys. Cardinals, Brewers, that was an easy cash. The Rangers on the money line, they let up 2 runs late in the 9th. To lose the game as the Mariners walk off. And then the Mariners money line, I put a P for postpone, pending, push for this one because they are up 2-1 in the 9th right now. Not right now, but like technically speaking. And the Mets wouldn't allow the game to stop or something like that. Like, maybe I'm not familiar with the rules, but I thought if a game gets postponed or delayed because of rain, if it's delayed long enough past maybe the 5th or 6th inning, right? Maybe this is I thought this was the rule, that the game would be called. But maybe it's because it's the 9th inning. I don't really know, but this game is now suspended. The MLB is trying to figure out when they can play this game. It's huge implications for the Marlins being in the playoff spot that they're in. But yeah, they're up 2-1 in the 9th. Game got called a suspension, not got called a win for the Marlins. So we'll see when that game goes through. I think that we have to wait to see the outcome of that bet for whenever that gets played. I saw rumors that it might get played on Monday at some random time. So it's like, what are we doing here? So a weird 1-1 night. If you're familiar with the rules and exactly why this game wasn't fully just called, being at the 9th inning, right? Let me know in the comments because I am sure as hell confused by that one. But what I'm not confused by is our ride of the day. Come on now. Coming in from Akash, he had the Blue Jays -1.5 here on the run line for plus 110 odds. The final score, 6-0. Not confused about that one. I can understand the rules well enough for that game. Shout out to Akash, guys. If you do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a pick, and I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick in the comments. Win or loss, you guys get a shout out in the next video. So shout out to Akash there. Guys, that was a banger of a ride of the day. That thing tripled up on how it cashed in terms of -1.5. They won by 6 runs. Now, before we do get into Slater, I'm asking you guys to smash that subscribe button. And while you're down there, go ahead and check out the pinned comment because I want you guys to check out OddsJam, a really cool sports betting tool. You guys can get the best prices out there on all the lines that you're looking at, whether it's player props, spread, money line, totals, that type of thing, guys. OddsJam will show you the best deals on the sports books. Just check out the link in the pinned comment. 7 days free. You can also use code GUYBOSTON. 25% off your first month. I use this tool every single day. I use the analogy of why would you walk down the street and go into a car dealership and say, oh yeah, I like that Toyota Camry Sports Edition, and buy it for 20 grand, right? When you could literally keep walking down the street, find it at another dealership for half the price. Why would you pull the trigger on the more expensive? It's just like saying, why would you bet on a team on the money line if you can get a way better money line deal on the other on another sportsbook? So make sure to go check it out, guys. They show you how to use sportsbooks offers and whatnot too. So it's a really cool mathematical edge that you can give yourselves, for dummies like you and me, that they make it simple. To beat the sportsbook. So go check out OddsJam, guys. Again, 7 days free. What's the risk in that, right? And if you do want to continue your subscription, 25% off your first month when you use the code GUYBOSTON at checkout. All right, enough rambling, enough complaining about those games. We're decent amount into the video. Let's go ahead and get into game number 1 here. And we are looking at the Miami Marlins taking on the Tigers here. We don't know who is pitching for either team here. It doesn't really surprise me. Miami's probably like, what the hell's going on here? Like, we should have had a win. We had to wait. Game got called, postponed, whatever you want to say, right? Pittsburgh coming off of a series in which they lose 2 of 3 to Philly, but they did win yesterday's outing against them in a low-scoring affair there. Miami, obviously, was looking okay. I think they split the doubleheader that they had against New York 2 days ago, and then yesterday they should have had a win, but the game is still suspended. You'll probably hear me say that like 10 times because I'm still so confused. But either way, guys, I do lean towards Miami in this spot, but I doubt we make it a final play because I have a feeling they are just as confused as we are here. So depending on what the final odds are and then total, keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we roll with anything. But nothing in this first game really is enticing me to roll with anything, so just keep an eye on the pinned comment, see if we do. It's strong if we do roll with anything in this one. Let's move on. All right, Detroit taking on Cleveland, and I will say, guys, it's really important towards the end of the year here to kind of realize that guys might be resting or guys might be not caring about the game, as crappy as that is to say, but maybe the teams are trying out young guys and things like that. So be careful, sports betting late in the season like this. It just is, I guess, advice if I can give you any. But we have Detroit taking on Cleveland. This is a spot where I do like Cleveland. They're only minus 112 in terms of the money line. Cal Quantrill's on the mound for them. He has been pitching fairly well. 1.2 ERA over his last 5 starts here. In his last 3, it gets a little worse, but still pretty good. Better than his season average here at 2.3 with a 1.4 whip. We don't love the whip, but I'll take that ERA all day long. In terms of the offensive discrepancy here, Detroit has been struggling against right-handed pitchers. 209 in their last 10 in terms of hitting for average and 206 in their last 5. It gets even worse, but it's not exactly like Cleveland's offense has been rearing and ready to go. So I'm going to take a peek at the under 8.5 in this spot as well, but I'll take Cleveland on the money line for minus 112 odds. I think you can actually get it. I might have caught MGM earlier at like minus 110, just a little bit of value there. See, using the OddsJam tool, we can compare and contrast sports books, but I do like the under 8.5 here. You can get that on Caesars for minus 120, and I think being late in the year, like, this is just a hypothesis of mine, so don't jump down my throat being like that's stupid. I do think that some of these totals, and depending on the team, right, there's gonna be games that I feel like are almost I'm jinxing myself, locks for unders, because some of these teams don't really care, and there's gonna be a lot of games, or not a lot, but a few games, a handful left in the year, that we're gonna look at and be like, wow, this is like an over spot because these teams are trying to score a bunch of runs, or the pitchers aren't gonna really be intense because of the standings and whatnot. So keep a close eye on the games you're rolling with. As much as I said, be careful about betting late in the MLB season, there's also going to be opportunity, right? Like where you can find holes, because everybody, sportsbooks are too, focused on football and everything like that. Like, there is going to be some gaps here. We've already caught a couple of mistakes on sportsbooks in terms of some wide variance of odds using the plus EV tool over on OddsJam. I tweet a lot of those out, so make sure you follow me on Twitter. But yeah, give me Cleveland as well as the under in this spot. Let's move on. All right, Baltimore taking on the Red Sox. This may be the crazy one of the slate here, but I do kind of like the Red Sox in this spot. You have Nick Pivetta going up against Baltimore. He's actually pitched fairly well against Baltimore. Hasn't seen them this year, but in his last 3 starts, those were just towards the end of last year. He's got a 2.0 ERA against them, averaging over 6 strikeouts per start against them. Baltimore's pitching John Means, who, I've said it multiple times. He's been pitching well. The stats look good. I just don't know if I can fully trust him yet. And this being the last series of the year for these two teams, I do think the Red Sox pull out one at some point here, and I think that this could be the spot for it, as they kind of hung in last night. They lost that game 2-0. Chris Sale didn't look all that terrible, so I like the Red Sox in the spot for plus 116 odds. Does it become a final play? We'll see how big my cojones are, because this is a wild one. Like, the Red Sox don't care about baseball anymore. Baltimore, obviously, I don't think they necessarily need to be caring about baseball, as they've already totally clinched where they are here. Best record in the AL here as well, which is absolutely crazy. And they almost caught the Braves too, right? Like, this Baltimore team turned it on. I think I might like them to win the World Series now too. Brooks Robinson, RIP, added motivation, like added specialty, and I'm a big believer in when things happen to your team or fan base, the team rallies around it. So yeah, I might consider that too. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the playoffs. I'm not the biggest of futures better, if I'm being honest, but nonetheless, I think this could be one where the Red Sox kind of squeak out. They get one win, and then all of a sudden, it's a couple losses to end the year, and Baltimore gets that momentum going into the playoffs. Total right now sitting at 8 runs. We saw 2-0 yesterday. I believe that this one is an over type of a spot for both these teams. The overs hit in 8 of the last 10 matchups against one another. Those are all this season, obviously being a divisional opponent here. So give me the over 8 runs. I think that there's some runs left in the tank there from yesterday, that 2-0 game. All right, we have Toronto taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Both are sitting in their wild card spots right now. Toronto, they're game up when it comes to a game up on, I think is it Houston? Yeah, so I don't think that they're really going to fall out of the playoff picture. Like I said in yesterday's video, they'd have to really crap the bed to do that. But this game, in terms of meaning, doesn't have all that much meaning. But I don't think that these guys are going to necessarily go through and sleepwalk through this game. So what we're looking at here in terms of odds is Toronto actually favored at home here. And I like Tampa Bay in this spot. I don't know if I should keep trusting Aaron Savale. I do keep trusting him, right? And he keeps burning us. So this may be the last time I'm looking at him and saying, I like that pitcher. It's similar with Zach Wheeler. I trusted him yesterday. He didn't pitch all that poorly, but they end up losing the game. But give me the Tampa Bay Rays here for plus 125 over on BetMGM on the money line. Total sitting at 7.5 right now as well. I like the over. These two teams have cashed in their last 10, cashed the over 8 times against one another. All those games coming in the last 10 here as well in the last season. So give me them. I don't think that Kikichi is really, he is the projected starter, not confirmed yet. I don't think that he pitched last time that they played, right? So yeah, I bet he's going to start again today because this is only 2 series ago. So I do think that this is, he's most likely going to be the starter. I don't necessarily look at him and say, okay, well, he's going to shut them down. He didn't pitch very well against Tampa Bay last time. And like I said, Savale, I am just kind of trusting here. His last time out against Toronto, he was on the Cleveland Guardians. He hasn't played them with Tampa Bay yet, so maybe it's like a new team, new him. But yeah, give me the Rays here on the money line. Toronto struggling against righties as of late. 213 in their last 10, 204 in their last 5 here. Again, Tampa Bay and the over is what I'm looking at in this spot. All right, Mets hosting the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies have won 5 straight against the Mets here. They swept them in a four-game sweep last time out, and that was just a week ago. I do think that this is another spot for the Phillies. Taijuan Walker on the mound for them. He's been struggling as of late, but he's going up against Tyler McGill, who's also been struggling as of late. So I'm going to take the team that I do think is just better overall and better comprised, which is the Phillies. A stronger offense as well. In terms of the odds that you're getting here, not terrible. Minus 122 over on FanDuel. I like that spot, and the Mets could also be kind of shaken up by last night, right? Like that Miami and Mets game, I still don't get it, guys. You probably are looking at this, and if you're into the rules and like that, you'll be like, Ev, it's so obvious, right? Like, and I'm just like, why wasn't that game called? Like, why isn't that a loss for the Mets and a win for Miami if it was in the 9th inning that the rain delay happened, right? Like, I still just don't get it. But I think the Mets, could be kind of coming out of that being like that was a weird experience, whereas the Phillies, want to get a win now after playing against Pittsburgh here. In terms of implications of this game, nothing really playoff wise, so just maybe the best team win, and I do think that is going to be the Phillies. Total sitting at 8.5 here. I like the over. Excuse me. Wow. I like the under in this spot. I don't necessarily think either of these offenses have been firing on all cylinders. I do believe Philly's a better offense than the Mets, but this could easily be a 4-3, 4-2 type of a game and stay well under 8.5. All right, Braves taking on Washington. Braves obviously have secured what they need. They swept Chicago, which was massive. That put and catapulted Miami ahead of Chicago in that last wildcard spot. They're up a half game now. Chicago must be pretty butthurt about that. And they're probably like, what the heck's going on with that suspended game? Now we have to do it on Monday, which is absolutely absurd. Monday is, I think, technically after the regular season, right? Like the regular season's supposed to end 10-1. But nonetheless, here Atlanta, even though they probably don't care all that much about the regular season anymore, they're looking forward to the playoffs. I do still think that they're just so much better than this Washington team. So I'll take them on the money line. I just sneeze so big. Now my throat like hurts. Yikes. And then in terms of a total, I'm going to look at the under here because Atlanta doesn't need to go out there and press for runs, and I don't trust this Washington offense to kind of keep it going, right? Like, and to contribute your half of it. So I'll take the under 10.5 here as well. All right, guys, if you made it to this point in the video, go ahead and comment number 14 because you made it 14 minutes into the video, or you're about to. We asked the question yesterday, what's your favorite playoff sport? And it looked like my answer was NHL playoffs, right? We got a bunch of different answers across the board. March Madness was one that I didn't even really think of when I was thinking that was a good one, but there's a lot of NBA fans out there, and NBA is my favorite sport overall, right? Like that's how we started, if you didn't know, started doing the picks on the channel with NBA picks, so super excited for that to come in. But there was a lot of NBA answers, and that's interesting to me because that is super intense and whatnot, but even me being an NBA fan, I think that hockey kind of, trumps NBA in terms of playoffs, but I totally get the NBA side of things. But guys, go ahead and comment 14 if you are still watching right now, and we'll start thinking of some more questions to throw your way, because I do like doing those questions and reading those comments, responding to them, and then talking about them as well. So we'll start doing more of that as well versus just saying comment number 14. But it is a way to, you know, suss out the guppies, right? I had to body a guppy with a YouTube short yesterday. He was like, be quiet and make your picks. And I was like, how do I be quiet? Ready? The next game up. That's me being quiet, you guppy, right? But let's go ahead and get back to the slate. Comment 14 if you're still watching right now. Also, go watch that YouTube short. It's right on the channel. Let me know if I was too mean. I got a couple DMs being like, you don't have to be mean, be funny. And I was like, oh boy, I thought I was being funny. If I came across mean, yikes, because I don't hate the guppy. He's just a guppy. You can't be mad at a little guppy. You poke him with a stick and it's like, yeah, you're a hater, but you're a guppy, you know? But I kind of might do those, a little guppy alert video. I kind of like doing those because sometimes the haters, you know, they throw stones and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I read all the comments. I don't care if it's good or bad. I read them and, you know, maybe I'll respond to you and you'll be like, oh, I'm just kidding, man, just playing around. It's like, yeah, every time you're nice after I respond. But let's go ahead and get into this game before I just start, you know, I should just make a podcast called The Guppy Talk, because I acknowledge haters too much, but I have fun with it and whatnot. And I think it could be a good little segment. But nonetheless, guys, Chicago taking on the Padres here. Chicago coming off a win against Arizona. San Diego kind of closing out the season really strongly. Unfortunately, it's all for nothing, but they did kind of go out here and really kind of go on a rampage at the end of the year. In terms of who's pitching for them, Nick Martinez here, he's pitching fairly well. He only pitches, you know, 3-4 innings, but he's going up against Dylan Cease, and I think, you know what, I've had such an allegiance to Dylan Cease this season. I think I got to give him one last shot. He cashed for us last time we bet on them. I think that was against the Royals, and they were plus money, and they cashed for us. I'm going to give Dylan Cease one last shot here because, you know, he was a guy that we rode with a lot this season, but he burned us a lot this season as well. One last shot for Dylan Cease here. We'll take the Chicago White Sox on the money line here. If you're on the Padres side of things, I'm not surprised. Like, this is me backing the pitcher, which I trust Cease more than Martinez. If you're asking me who the better team is, I think it's obviously San Diego as of right now. But give me Dylan Cease. Again, that's plus 124 on the money line. I like the spot for them right now. Total sitting at 8.5. In terms of where I come out on that, I guess I lean slightly towards the under. I don't love these two teams to score a bunch of runs, especially if I'm hoping Dylan Cease goes out there and has a decent pitching game. We'll go ahead and take that. So yeah, give me Cease and the White Sox as well as the under. All right, Milwaukee taking on Chicago. Obviously, these games, these last few for Chicago are going to matter all that much. They're heading into Milwaukee, in terms of where they stand, they are obviously leading that Central Division in the NL. They've clinched the division as well, so I don't think that they're going to have the same intensity for this game, but we don't know who's pitching for either side here. Right now it is, we do have odds, but they're just kind of like base opening odds, so I don't even know how much to trust these, but right now both teams are minus 108, so it's essentially a pick'em, and the total's at 8 runs. I don't even know if that truly is like the real odds. That's just what I have in the feed here, but I like Chicago. They have to win. Like, this is next game, or like it's win or go home, and right now it's looking like they're gonna go home if they're down you know, a half game with only a couple to play. So I will take Chicago in this spot. Milwaukee, I think, is the better team, but what's Milwaukee's, like, do they just want to stomp and crush I guess the Cubs? Like, is that the reason? And I get, you know, every team wants to go and win and whatnot, but at this point in the year, teams are gonna want it more than others. Like, there's not much that can happen with Milwaukee, obviously. And Chicago's fighting to even make the playoffs and continue their season. So I'll take the Cubs in this one. In terms of the total, if it is sitting at 8, I don't mind the over there. This Cubs team, the offense is giving you a pretty good floor, and as has Milwaukee, you know, at least in their St. Louis series, they scored 3 runs in each. They're not an offensive powerhouse, but if you're telling me there's going to be a minimum of 6 runs in this game, we just need 3 more to fall somewhere, I'm hoping the Cubs can pull out a couple extra. So give me the over as well, but I obviously like Chicago money line much more than I do Milwaukee in this game. But we'll see who's pitching. I have a feeling they got to give it all they got, right? So I don't think they're going to go and throw Joe Schmo out there, but give me Chicago on the money line. All right, Kansas City taking on the Yankees, two teams that just don't really matter right now. We don't know who's pitching for Kansas City yet, but nonetheless, I'd be leaning towards the Yankees anyways here. New York has won 4 of their last 5 games, or 3 of their last 4 games here, excuse me, losing yesterday 6-0 the ride of the day again. cashed. But give me the Yankees here on the money line. I don't know if it becomes a final play, but I do think that this is such a perfect spot for the Yankees. Still have that sort of like, we're the Yankees, let's go, let's try and win some games. We just lost 6-0 after winning 6-0 the night before, like whatever, you know. And I think Kansas City's like, let's get over with the season. Like, they do have some young guys that may be still trying out there, but slightly in towards the Yankees. In terms of the total, it's 9. I'll take the under there as well. I don't think that these offenses are really up to par as of late. All right, Colorado taking on Minnesota. Another game that it doesn't really matter to me. We don't know who's pitching for either side right now. I imagine Minnesota is going to be pretty heavily juiced, but Colorado is at home. The total is going to be at 12.5, 11.5, whatever it may be. I'll lean towards the under in this spot. But yeah, we don't know any information about this game really overall, so we'll go ahead and skip it. But just know that I am leaning towards the under. We'll see if we pull the trigger on that. All right, St. Louis hosting Cincinnati. I believe I don't even know if I should say impossible for Cincinnati to even make the playoffs. I think they're a game and a half out of the wild card, but it doesn't really seem like you can make up that spot. But again, I'm not the biggest of playoff math guy. I can't even understand the Miami and New York game not being called in the 9th inning. So dumb moment for me here. But at least Cincinnati is close, and maybe they are kind of fighting for some wins here late in the year. I'll take them. It's a pick 'em right now, -108 on each side. Total sitting at 9 runs as well. In terms of the total, I originally looked at this and thought under, but I do think that Cincinnati's offense has actually started to show a little bit more life than what we'd seen lately. In St. Louis, if they could just give you 2 to 3 runs today, I think this has a strong chance of hitting the over. So I'm flipping and looking at the over. You have Connor Phillips on the mound for Cincinnati. He's not looked all that great. He's got 3.25 ERA in his last, I think he's only had 4 starts here, but in his last 3, a 4.5 ERA with a 1.25 whip. And St. Louis has Jake Woodford on the mound. He's looked okay, but he's only going to give you 3 innings or so. And then you're going to have to rely on the bullpen of the St. Louis team, who really hasn't been looking all that great. 4.11 ERA with a 1.3 whip for the available guys today. So I'll take the over in this spot. All right, talk about good matchups. We got the LA Angels taking on the Oakland Athletics here. A's have won the 3 straight games here from the last series. They swept the Angels way back in, I believe it was early September. On the mound for the Angels today is going to be Chase Silseth. Yeah, tough one for me. I at least could pronounce this one for the Oakland A's. We don't know yet. We don't know who's pitching. If he did have a name, it could be Joe Smith, and I probably would have trouble pronouncing it. But I'll actually take the A's in this spot just because of the value. Like, I'm not going to lay -140 on the Angels ever. That's a price that just is not worth a bad team to me. So why not take a little bit of a flyer here on the Athletics? +125 actually over on BetMGM. Looks like it's your best deal. And I like the spot for them. Now, I will say, whether or not that becomes a final play, like, it's still at the end of the day is the Angels taking on the A's, right? Like, you got to be some sort of a psycho if that interests you. But if you're kind of feeding for games, there's not that many good matchups. I do think that this could be a flyer of a spot. In fact, even saying this, I'm kind of like talking myself into Oakland. So we'll see. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. But yeah, I think, you have to fade that -140 spot of the Angels. Like, why would you consider that, right? Please don't consider that. It's just not even if they do win, you'd have to put up 140 to make one. Like, you know what I mean? Just not exactly the risk that I'd be willing to lay on an Angels team. All right, Arizona taking on Houston. These two teams want to solidify where they are in the wild card. Houston in that last wild card spot. They're only a game up on Seattle, but again, time's ticking for Seattle. A couple big wins and a couple big losses for Houston could matter, though. So I am going to lean towards the underdog Houston in this spot because Arizona is a little bit more comfortable. They're in that second spot in the wild card, a game and a half up on Miami, who's a half a game up on the Cubs here. JP France on the mound for Houston. No final confirmed pitcher yet for Arizona, but I believe we could see, I forget who was due up. I saw probable Zach Gallen, but I think he pitched yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. At least the stat sheet I'm looking at here has him going. So or that was the last time they pitched, not yesterday. Okay, so Zach Gallen right now is probable, but he's not confirmed. Excuse me for that little blunder here, but I do think that this is a game in which Houston plays well, even if it is Zach Gallen. Obviously, he is the best that Arizona has, and he pitched really well against Houston last time out. I think Houston kind of is a good spot here value-wise in terms of getting plus money for a team that definitely does not want to start catching losses here and making things a little interesting late in the year. So give me the Astros on the money line. That's +116 right now over on FanDuel. If Gallen gets confirmed, I think that those odds get even better. So this may be one where it's worth waiting out just a little bit because, again, if he gets confirmed, I think that this goes to maybe plus 118, plus 120, just because he is a really good pitcher. In terms of the total 9 runs, I guess I have to look at the under here. These two teams have not been cashing this line. Both 2 of their last 3 games here hitting the under. And I don't think that, even though these offenses do have a lot of talent, this is late in the season. And this is a game between 2 wild card playoff teams that, they may use as sort of a ramp up for the playoffs. Obviously, they wouldn't see each other until they potentially would get to the World Series. But I do think that, them being 2 good teams, they kind of use this as like a playoff warm up in a sense, right? Not a full degree like, oh, we're treating this like playoff baseball, but this is a much more intense driven series than if Arizona was playing the Athletics, right? Like they wouldn't have any draw to that. Right now they're playing another good baseball team. I think they go in with a little bit more intensity than normal. All right, just got odds for this one. Seattle favored here at home, minus 126. Texas plus 108. We don't have starters for this game just yet, but we do obviously have odds now. Depending on who's pitching, I like Texas again. This is still a series that matters to a decent degree. Houston and Seattle battling for that last playoff spot here. Texas hasn't clinched yet. They are leading the AL West right now, but they only have a couple more wins than Houston. And if Houston gets these wins, and Seattle, who is still kind of trying to make the playoffs, it's getting harder and harder for them, but they could kind of take these wins away from the Texas Rangers, and all of a sudden we could see a big shift. Like this is one of the most photo finish divisions that I've seen in quite some time, especially with, I like all those teams, Texas, Houston, and Seattle. Like that's a really a good division there. So keep an eye on the pinned comment, see what we roll with here. But I do think that if Texas doesn't throw a crappy pitcher out there, I like Texas 4+ money today, plus 108 over on FanDuel. They have to win games to really back up against the wall, secure where they are now. I can entertain the thought of, yeah, but Seattle has to win to even have a chance to make the playoffs. Like they pretty much have to win out, right? But Texas knows that as well. Like they're not just going to roll over and let this entire division get, shaken up before the playoffs. So give me Texas on the money line. They should have freaking won yesterday. Go out and do it today. In terms of a total, it's sitting at 7.5 right now. I don't know who's pitching. I like the under, especially after what I saw last game. But obviously it'll come down to who's pitching. If we don't have any good talent out there, which we should given the circumstances, I'd probably punt away the total. But if it's good pitchers, I wouldn't hate the under 7.5 here. Probably can get it at 8 on some books as well. And then the finale game here, San Francisco taking on LA. LA, obviously the spot here, but we don't have pitchers for these games either. And apology, guys, like we are getting up early to do these videos, and obviously late in the game, like they're waiting as long as I can to make their decisions late in the season. So we obviously want to talk about each and every game, but we don't have pitchers for every game. We don't have odds for every game, but we still go through it. So hopefully that is all right, and that suffice. But yeah, guys, I like the Dodgers to win this game. It's going to be heavily juiced. I don't really trust San Francisco, but nonetheless, that is going to be my lean. The total's probably going to be somewhere right around 9, in which I would look at, actually, I don't even like anything. I was going to say I'd look at the over, but if it's 8.5, I'd look at the over. If it's 9, I would not really touch it. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you did enjoy, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. If you're still watching right now and you haven't subscribed, you're the craziest person I've ever met, which now I kind of love you. Like what you're watching that long, that dedicated, and you're like, I'm not hitting that subscribe button. No. But yeah, guys, shout out to you. You guys have made this baseball season awesome. Yes, we have plenty of baseball left with playoffs and whatnot, but just absolutely crazy. The baseball season now into football season. Like the football videos are going crazy. I have so much thanks in my chest that I wish I could say and get out there, but I'm sure it'll come out at one point in terms of what it really means and all that. So without further ado, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. All right, peace out.